Hello and welcome to the Janky-B-Cast. Despite my professional-sounding demeanour, the podcast shall sound nothing like this, as all participating are a bunch of idiots. This podcast, I give two of my friends a challenge each, one to play a game, the other to watch a movie, both of my choosing. I then have them sum up and review their experience with the game and movie, after which they are tasked with finding the connection between the two. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Oh, welcome to the Janky-B-Cast. I'm your host, Rhys, and with me are Sam and Foley. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Cool. In this podcast, I have got them to play two things. Well, I say play, one of them's watch something. So this is already going great. How's that for a first episode? Cool. Professional. I did warn them in the intro that it would not be professional.
I mean, it's in the name, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we know it's going to be janky. And technically, because we're European, that makes it Eurojank, which is a game style. Oh. Anyway, terrible jokes aside. Cool. So...
Alrighty. What does the B stand for?
The B, it's like B movies.
Oh, okay.
Because that's, for the most part, what I'm going to be subjecting Foley to. And for you, it's mainly just games that I consider to be janky. Effectively, what is called, what I would love to do is give you like a shit ton of kusoge, which is literally Japanese for shit games. It's an entire genre of games that are shit. Like, the fact that exists alone is amazing to me. Anyway, enough about
shovelware, I guess.
Effectively, it is shovelware as a genre. Which is even worse. Cool. So, as this is the first attempt of a podcast, I will explain the rating system. The rating system I've chosen for use for both the films and the games is going to be out of 15. For the games, it will be out of 5 for the story, out of 5 for the gameplay, and out of 5 for the design. For films, it will be out of 5 for the story, out of 5 for the design, out of 5 for the character. I'm just going to clarify on the story for the games, as often due to the story not being as important or impactful on a lot of the preceding content, the story will also be relevant to how useful it is or how relevant it would be, including the gameplay. For example, one that's coming off the top of my head is Super Mario Bros. Is, for the most part, it's kind of irrelevant. The game is a classic for a reason, and just the story of sorry, your princess in another castle is good enough. It's just a way to lead the characters on from world to world. So there's not too much worry about the story for that. The story is of, if it's a great story but doesn't fit with the property, that should mark it down a couple of points. But if it's a great story that's wasted on a property, the story could still be rated quite high, but it might be explained in the gameplay that has been knocked down a peg or two.
Yeah.
So all it means is it is as good as it needs to be, or it could be better, depending on what the property is. And first up, we will be having Sam.
This blank wall.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it might have to be you this time, Sam, explaining what is needed for this thing. You have... Oh, no, he's back. Okay, so we can do Foley first. Hello.
Sorry.
Yeah,
my nose just started bleeding. I was like, great. Okay.
Your nose just started bleeding?
Yep.
That's a great start to the podcast. So,
it's just the pressure of the podcast.
So, this podcast is going to be very interesting as a first episode, as not only is it going to be the first episode, so everything is going to be as awkward, confusing, and as unprofessional as it could be. We're showing how unprofessional it could be, as the film that was chosen for one of our members was Atomic Blonde from 2017, starring Charlize Theron and James McAvoy. And I think it's also got John Goodman in it, I believe. But the film that was watched by Foley, do you want to explain what it was?
It was a wonderful law drama romantic film called Legally Blonde.
So it was Legally Blonde. Right. Foley, what was the plot of this movie? Was it a spy thriller? Set in the Berlin in the Cold War? Yep, is that what it was?
It feels like a spy movie, though.
Does it?
Didn't she lie about her identity at one point?
It's about she kind of she finds herself. Yeah, no, it's not being a spy movie, but she finds herself though. It's really romantic and cute.
What's the base plot of the movie? How does the story go from A to Z?
So, is her name Ellie? She's like a ditzy
L.
Is it?
It's Elwoods.
Elwoods.
Yeah, I haven't
She's
seen
like
this
a
movie in a
ditzy,
while. I should remember. This is just one of the few things that I remember about it. Continue, sir.
And she's like a ditzy posh girl, and then she gets dumped by a boyfriend who's going to is it Oxford? Oxford?
Harvard. It's American. Harvard.
And then she's like, "Oh, I'll go there as well, win his heart back." And then throughout this doing all this the course and the law, she finds herself and she finds courage in herself. She has more confidence. Yeah, she finds out she doesn't need him anymore. She finds someone else, and she's a really good lawyer.
Indeed, and it's got some very entertaining scenes. Speaking of scenes, is there any specific scene which you found particularly engaging or offensively bad?
Offensively bad or engaging?
Yeah. But at the top of your head, when you think of this movie, is there a scene that comes to mind as this is the scene I love in this movie?
I really love the dip and pop scene.
The what? I see this scene. Do you want to explain what happens in this scene?
There's one reason why I actually really love it. But I thought it's a really wholesome moment. She's trying to show these women in the salon a bit of confidence and all, and goes, "Oh, you just need to show your worth. You need to show yourself." Yeah, and she gets everyone in the salon to drop the pen technique, and then pop. But then this random gay man comes out of nowhere. He's the drop and pop, it never fails, and that's it. He's not in it, but he comes in, and that's what you see of him. But I really like the ending, though. I really like how she finds out the witness is lying because he calls her
stupid detail that only she would know.
Yeah, don't tap those last season's shoes at me, sweetheart.
That's another one. It's just he's gay. What? How do you know he's gay? Just the entire courtroom scene for that is literally just this witness that's on the stand who's possibly gay, according to the main character L. And there's this character who's the only supportive one of her at this point in time, who's just asking a couple of normal questions. It's just so where were you on the night? And he's just going over them casually. And then eventually he's like, what's your boyfriend's name? Stephen. And then everyone in the audience is just like, what? Stephen? What would you and he's like, oh, sorry, I meant friend. He's just a friend. At which point Stephen stands up and exclaims, you bitch! And leaves. That is, in my opinion, the scene that's the most iconic to the movie. It's just the comedic timing and framing is just brilliant, in my opinion. Cool. Speaking of a great character, is that gay man in the salon your favourite character, or do you have another favourite character?
He's definitely one of my favourites. I really like the main character, Ellie? L. Yep. But, yeah, when that man came on, it's I love this man straight away. He's only here for 1 second, and that's it.
He is literally the firework character. He is in the smallest amount of time, but he is the best part of that time that he's in.
He deserves a spin-off film, to be honest.
That's effectively he just ends up being Queer Eye, surely. That's pretty much what it is.
I want to know how he got into that salon, to be honest.
Just his thoughts and motivations and reason for being there.
Yes. It'd be interesting to see what experience he's had with that, drop and pop.
So, would you recommend this movie to someone else?
Oh, 100%.
100%? Nice.
100%.
Cool. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to think of something else immediately, is can you describe in 4 words what this film makes you think? How you feel about this movie?
Want to drop, pop.
Nice. Those are 4 words that make your film. So what's your final verdict out of 5 for all 3?
5 or 3?
Yep, so story out of 5?
Yeah, I'll rate the story 5, yeah.
Design out of 5?
Well, I'd say about 4.
4. It's 9 points so far, and character out of 5. The character of the movie.
Yeah, I rate it 5. I really enjoyed the character.
A solid 14. That's very good, straight off the bat.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable movie.
An enjoyable movie. And for anyone who's curious about the opinion on Atomic Blonde, I think that the movie is incredibly wasted, and ironically, it's supposed to be an incredibly pro-feminist movie, but the best and only interesting character happens to be one of the men. Just as port of reference of how bland and uninteresting this movie is, they somehow managed to make her a lesbian and still make her boring. As it looks like the character, no thought was put into going, is she a lesbian and other things? It was just, let's make her a lesbian, that will make her more interesting. That's not really what makes a good character. She is shown to be a lesbian in the film, and then her partner is immediately killed, like 2 scenes later, by the best character in the movie. And it's the only scene in the movie that he's not good at, because it just feels really out of place in the movie, because he doesn't really do anything past that for the most part. So, Legally Blonde is 14 out of 15. And my review for Atomic Blonde is 010. Looks right. I will say some of the action sequences are good, but it suffers from the same thing that I think John Wick 3 does, in which they just drag on without any proper escalation. And if it's just like same level, it just sort of tapers off and becomes uninteresting. And as a result, it just makes you think, I could be doing something else right now. During supposedly one of the most brutal fight sequences of the movie. You're like, for the first minute or so, you're like, wow, there's incredibly good like combat ability, and then it's just, well, have I got any games on my phone I could be playing right now?
Snakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just play Snake. Snake's more interesting. That's my review of the movie. Just play Snake.
Go to the settings on your phone.
Yeah, that's what it is. The setting's great for the movie, and just the rest of the movie is terrible. And oh god, the part that annoys me most about the movie is the final point, or I won't talk about this for long. It tries to do one of those bait and switch endings, but it does it twice, and none of them work. So she's a British agent, and it's revealed that she's not giving any of the information that she stole to the British agents, at which point she then meets the Russians, who it's then revealed that she kills and doesn't give any information to them either. And then she goes to the American, who's played by John Goodman, and it's like, oh yeah, I was working for you the entire time and you knew it. And it's like, okay, I didn't care about the British agents. I would have rather you died in Berlin already. Can we just move on to the credits, please?
Well, he just suffered a heart attack at the beginning of the film.
Honestly, well, technically I would have loved that as well, because the beginning of the film is her talking to the British agents and then revealing what happened while she was in Berlin. So that would have made sense of her having a heart attack and then going, oh, let's read the reports of what happened. Would have made a more satisfying ending, in my point, where it just cuts to her body on the floor after having a heart attack and they're like, oh, well, that's the credits for you, and then they just stop rolling.
Nudge over the shoe.
Yeah, literally, just more interesting.
She did.
Just, oh dear, what a pity. So, well, before we go into what Sam has been made to do, I'll just explain something interesting that happened to me lately. While I was at my partner's house, a man knocked on the door and asked if we had a kitten that had escaped. And we were like, no, there's no kittens here. And we found out that there's a kitten outside, so we had to capture it and bring it in. And, like, it was just really weird, because I think someone had just unfortunately dumped this kitten on the side of the road near to where my partner lives. So we basically just sort of had to rescue this kitten, which was a really good thing, because the night that we brought it in, it was hammering it down. I'm pretty sure there was, like, thunder once or twice, which is not particularly pleasant. Unfortunately, her dog wasn't particularly impressed either, as the way that we got the kitten in is through the dog's carrying cage. So it now smells of a strange kitten.
Aww.
Yeah.
But it's alright now, though.
It's alright now. It's gone to the man who informed us about the kitten being out and about, who I discovered about 20 minutes before we started recording this specific podcast is a streamer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
hoping you weren't going to say like serial killer or something.
No. No. It's like, I don't know where this kitten's gone,
He's a
but if you
wanted
let
criminal.
me in, I will find it. No.
He just carries around a kitten so he can dump it and be like, "Excuse me."
No. He seems like a very nice man. And if I knew what his streaming name was, I would probably plug him for being a man who is kind enough to help save a kitten. But I don't. I only know what he does. If I find out what it is in the future, I will probably say what his channel name is. I assume he's probably a Twitch streamer, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, next we move on to the game that has been played by Sam.
Played by me
this
4
is called,
months ago.
Yeah, this first one took a
Yes.
little bit to record, but that's besides the point. So the game is called the Faery Tale Adventure. This specific one was released in 1991, as this was a port to the Sega Megadrive, as opposed to the one on the Amiga, or I believe there was one before it. No, the Amiga was the first one. It was the Commodore 64 and the MS-DOS. This is the Megadrive one specifically. So, Sam,
That's right.
what is the plot of the game?
Well, I think the best place to start would be the first thing you experience when you launch the game. Let's try.
Pain.
Yeah, that's what the music's like.
Yeah, that's what the music's like. Yeah, that
I
one-
always have to yank my headphones off when I start playing it.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so there you go. That's the game.
And the plot is...
So yes, the plot is there are three brothers.
Yep.
In a medieval style village, fantasy world, and the village mayor asks the brothers to save the village by finding a talisman.
Yep.
Or amulet. And then you jump into the game, pretty much.
I see.
There's an intro which explains a lot of this, and I always kind of just ignore it. But I mean, yeah, it's both a failing on my part and a failing on mostly my part.
Yeah. So the actual plot of the game is based around three brothers, as was previously mentioned, who have been sent out to recover a talisman kept by an evil necromancer. And they've got to... the Wikipedia page says the player must complete a number of other tasks which ultimately prove vital to the quest. Save the king's daughter, gain the aid of a sea turtle, and kill an evil witch in her castle. And that is the plot of the game.
Right.
So,
That sounds amazing.
yes.
So,
How are the visuals and overall theme of the
well,
and the
I'm
sound?
playing it
We
as
are
it
already
was
aware.
as it was meant to be played on the was it the Megadrive? Do you say?
Yes.
So my Megadrive has a 1440p screen.
Yes, you're
And
using an
this
emulator,
game-
I am well aware.
This
I gave
game
it to you.
occupies, let's say, a quarter of the height and about a fifth of the width.
Yes.
And the emulator I'm using, it doesn't let it properly maximize. So it's stuck at that size. It's a tiny little thing in the middle of the screen, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goody.
So the controls,
Yep.
I imagine it wouldn't be as much of a problem in the original thing because you've only got a limited number of buttons. But I kind of had to just trial and error my way into finding out which buttons did which. And there's quite a few on a keyboard, so that took quite a while.
That is unfortunately true. So tell me,
Yeah.
how does it feel to play?
Painful is probably the most subtle way of saying it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything particularly memorable about this game?
Well, so here's the thing. I did 2 playthroughs of this pretty much. Not like
Entire
full playthroughs,
playthroughs,
but-
or just
No.
yeah,
Up to a certain point.
yeah.
So the first playthrough, I just shamelessly save scummed and died like 30 times
Yeah.
and got to a certain point. The second playthrough, I didn't save scum at all and I died once, which is because I wasn't paying attention, and I got to the same point in about an hour. So, when you get the hang of it and you find out a really cheeky farming spot, you know.
Ironist, I believe that by your simple explanation of finding a really cheeky farming spot leads me to believe that you have played this game for more than me
Yeah.
and better than me.
Well, we messaged about it that one time, and I think you said that I got further than you. So yeah.
Yes. So, would you recommend this game to anybody
Uh,
else?
So here's the thing: if you are a child in when you say it launched the 80s,
The 90s,
if
very
you're
late
a
90s.
child in the 90s, and you get like one game a month or every couple of months, you probably would enjoy this game, because the main issue I have with it, apart from like anachronisms and just bizarre design decisions, like there's the camera. The game follows you. It kind of follows you. You're in the middle normally. If you move to the right, you move across the screen to a certain point, then the camera starts following you. So in the direction you're heading, you have like a quarter of the screen at most of actual vision in front of you, which is where the enemies are going to be because you're heading towards them. So moving just puts you at a really big disadvantage in not getting insta-killed by a skeleton or some shit. It's baffling.
I think the worst one or the most entertaining part about this is I think the music for the combat is actually better than the music that's in the rest of the game, because it's not as loud. Is the main reason why. And so what I'd do is I would have found a slow-moving enemy and just let him chase me until I need to kill him, so he's still in range, so I have the quieter music playing. And you can tell that they did not intend for this, as halfway through, I was heading towards the city with the king in, the music cut out.
It's not looping.
So there is no music that loops.
Nice.
I don't know if that was a bug for me and it's not supposed to, but it just meant that I was greeted with blissful silence until I arrived at the city, entered it, killed the monster, and was greeted by the music again, and I just did not want to keep playing.
So here's the thing, I muted the music, and the actual sound effects of the game aren't that bad, from what I remember. I was pretty happily letting them play.
Oh, that's not so bad. That means
other than the music, it's not that bad. Yeah. So the biggest issue of the game is that it's so massive and there's no real direction on what to do. It's kind of like Morrowind problem, except
worse, because there's no
without all the good stuff from Morrowind.
Apparently, it had the largest game load at the time of release. Apparently, it's over 17,000 screens big.
Yeah, the screen is very zoomed in, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean that is.
But even still, it's big. So I got to a certain point where you speak to the king, which was just difficult to get to in the first place.
Yeah.
And he asked me to go find his daughter, because apparently some simp nicked him. Oh, no, I'm the simp that's supposed to rescue his daughter. My bad. And then from there, I had no direction as to where to go.
It's just like, save my daughter. Where is she?
Yeah.
Silence.
So I technically didn't have a direction for originally. I mean, I kind of did. So if you speak to the mayor at the beginning of the game, he says, go to this city, speak to the king, he can help, type thing. But he didn't actually say where the city is. And there's you got two options, I guess. One is just walking around direction. Option 2 is take a path leading out of the village. But there's like 4 different paths, and there's no like indication which one's the right one to go. It's south, by the way.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the only
follow
things
that
I remember
down,
is you got to
and you
get
get
there.
there.
My most memorable thing about this game is being able to drown your character 15 times in a row until he finally dies, as he keeps getting resurrected by a fairy. What is your most memorable thing of the game?
Well, I went to that graveyard that's just south of the village, and I realised that you can trap enemies on the outside of the little bars surrounding the graveyard and hit them through it, and they can't hit you.
Oh god!
And more of them will eventually turn up and attack you again. So, and I think if you go back in the crypt and back out again, more will spawn outside. So that's how I farmed them, and that was pretty memorable. There's also another one where in the city there's locked doors, and you occasionally get keys dropped from enemies. And if you use one of those keys on the door, it unlocks. You go inside, you go back out, and the door's locked behind you, so you can't go back in.
What's
you need another key.
What?
It's so obnoxious.
I think what makes that even funnier is you found this key on this random skeleton in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
And it works.
It just means you open someone's house with this random key you found. So it's just
it is a skeleton key.
That is true, but it's just it's a one-use skeleton key. It's just the idea of them unlocking this door, and then the people see you enter the house, and then just follow you to the door and just lock it behind you. That's pretty much what they do. They're just like, okay, let's just put that latch back on again. Okay.
They just grab the key, put it on the other side and lock it.
Flipping it.
It's even worse getting to the king, though, because there's about 4 different doors in a row that you have to unlock in the castle, and there's like 3 different types of keys, I think, in the game. There's like just the regular iron key, maybe there's gold key, and I think there's like a blue or diamond key, maybe. And you need, I think it's like 2 iron and a gold, and then you find another gold in there, which opens the last gold one. So if you open the 2 irons and you haven't got a gold, you go, oh, hang on a sec, fuck, I need to go find one. And then I haven't tested this, so I'm pretty sure it'll just lock the doors behind you when you leave, so you need to get more irons again. So yeah, that was great.
So that means you'd have to get. If you'd use trial and error and you'd only had one iron key, that would mean you'd need a total of 7, maybe 8 iron keys.
Yeah.
In order to actually get in, to go back and forth.
Yeah. And also bear in mind there's 8 buildings in the city, I think, which are all locked. So that's 8 more iron keys if you go through each of them. And one of them has a cleric up reset who does something.
Does he heal you?
I think you pay him to heal you.
Something to get an iron key to get in, to get healed, and then the door locks behind you.
Healing, man, healing. So,
oh gotcha.
Healing. There's several ways of healing. I think one is the cleric can heal you. You pay him, I think.
Right.
Well, I think you might do it for free sometimes. The other way is buying potions from innkeepers and all that crap.
Yep.
And the other way is sleeping. And my main method of sleeping was passing out from tiredness because I couldn't figure out how to use a bed. I eventually figured it out. Yeah, I think you have to just stay in a bed for ages and then interact. It's like a good 10 seconds or something.
What?
So I'd walk into a bed and be like, okay, nothing's happening. Just interact. Nothing's happening. Okay, I guess I can't sleep. Do I just have to pass out or something? Yeah. Also, you can starve to death, or is it starving unconscious? I think you just starve to death. That's cool.
You don't understand quite how laborious this game is until you've played it. And the world design is ridiculous as well, because the trees and the mountains are they come up to your knees when you walk through them in the overworld. But the villages aren't like places you walk into and then you have another area inside it. They're the same size as your character the entire time. If that makes sense?
Realistically sized. They're massive.
So you'll walk through a forest that comes up to less than half the wall of a town, of trees. And you just stare at it going, why is this a thing?
Have I talked about combat yet?
You haven't, no.
Oh, here we go. So there's 2 types of... Well, I think you can do magic, but I didn't do anything of it. There's 2.5 types of combat, which is melee, ranged with the bow, and magic. I'm not going to touch on.
That's fair.
So melee, you every creature in the game, including you, attacks sort of I was going to do this, but it's not going to be camera, is it? You attack 15 times a second. You just swing.
I will explain it in the way that I
ludicrous.
Thought about it when I first played the game. It's like you're a camp man trying to swat a fly with a stick. That is how I would describe it.
Yeah, or somebody with a fish that's going on a slapping spree.
Yeah, it's a fish with a slapping spree or a camp man swatting a fly. That is the movement of the character.
So the thing is, you don't do that as the player unless you're also walking into the enemy.
Yeah.
For some reason, you attack kind of slowly if you're not walking into the enemy, which makes it it's weird. And so hitting is RNG. It's random based on your brawn stat, which I think is explained at the beginning, but I kind of.
It is.
There's so much info dump at the beginning.
Yeah, honestly, games that just give you that info dump at the beginning and then give you no direction afterwards. What's the point?
Not so great. But yeah, the brawn. If at the start of the game you can barely hit things effectively, which means that if you get in combat, you die unless you run away or get lucky or kite them, that sort of thing. And that's why straight away go to that skeleton spot and farm them using the fence in the way that lets you stay safe. As soon as you get above a certain threshold of brawn, which is 60, I think, you become able to just kill most things without taking too much damage.
I love how you wouldn't recommend this game to anybody, but you're still going, if you have to play it, do this.
You have to.
Yeah,
if you must play it, farm.
It's kind of enjoyable. The issue is mostly just the direction. You'd have to spend so much time just figuring out where to go and what to do. That sort of thing. The world's so big, and there's no direction. I
might have to give you a game that is far better in terms of direction next time. Actually, I think
I still kind of enjoyed it the second playthrough when I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, so
that one section.
That's fair. I'm actually looking at them. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it because the 2 participants find out what the other one has been doing during or just before the podcast.
Unless they watch the wrong thing.
Yeah, unless they watch the wrong thing. That is very true. But I have, I'd say, about 27 planned out at the moment. and obviously they're all linked in some way or fashion, and they're all at varying lengths and things. So what's your rating for each individual part of the game then, Sam?
Well, gameplay is going to be probably quite low. I'd say, I mean, you know what? It's still better than Stardew Combat, so I'm going to give it a 2.
Wow, okay. Yep.
Although the bows do drag it down. I haven't gone over the bows yet. I want to do that.
Oh, that's
Because it's bizarre.
so
the
you
bows...
want to play the game again, do you?
No. The enemies, when they have the bows, if you take the bow, you can shoot up, left, right, down, or the diagonals directly
Right,
between
yeah.
those 45 degrees from them.
I should explain that is because of the limitations of the Megadrive control.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you're in one of those lines relative to an enemy, they'll fire just like a constant stream of arrows, like like a fucking like Gatling gun. It's ridiculous.
Gatling, I do remember
this
that now that you bring
if
that up.
you spam the attack button. Thing is, the enemies, I don't know if they're like intentionally made to do this or if it's just like some sort of weird quirk, but they always just try and stay like slightly out of alignment with you. So you can't shoot them horizontally. They'll like move up and then just go slightly up, so it'll miss you. And if you move up, they'll do the same thing again. Just keep going and
What?
staying out of alignment.
Is
You
that
have to like. I don't know if it's intentional or not. If it is, it's quite clever, but also really obnoxious because you have limited arrows anyway.
But that
So,
means
yeah,
that they're
it's a
like,
difficult-
haha, you'll never hit me. And you're just standing there going, great, you're not going to hit me. What are you doing?
Yeah, but this is more like melee enemies as they're coming at you.
Ah,
But
I
yeah,
see.
archers are so dangerous to approach just because they can. If you end up in just the right, slightly wrong place, they just fire a stream of arrows and you're dead
Yeah,
instantly.
he's just dead. Just dead.
It's ludicrous.
Cool.
So what was the actual question?
The next bit of the rating system. So that's the gameplay. Not too high with a 2. How is the story?
Oh, hang on a sec. Gameplay again. Wait, gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
The controls.
Yeah.
There's move around. There's attack, I think, and there's like an interact button.
Yes.
Thing is, there's like 9 or so different interactions you can do.
Yeah.
There's like give money, that sort of thing. Interact. There's like open the menu. There's change the game settings. There's mute the music, mute all sound type things. And you press one button and it brings up that thing. You go through it, you select one with the interact key, and then it stays on that interaction. So next time you press the interact key, it will, for example, unmute the music if that's the last thing you did, or open the menu, that sort of thing. And it's just obnoxious because you used to have using it to do a certain thing, which is usually interact, and then you go like mute the music because it's really bloody loud, and then you're in the middle of combat, you try and interact with something, and then you just get music blaring in your ears. It's just really weird.
It's like,
I don't get why they did it.
smite you with my just
Yeah.
music blasts. And...
All right, I'm done.
Cool. Story. How is the story to this game?
Minimal, I think. I mean, they put some effort into the into like the lore. You got evil necromancer, I think you said.
Apparently, I haven't played that.
Yeah.
Far. And something to do with
necromancer.
saving a sea turtle.
I presume there's some sort of plague which has wiped out the entire population of the land, since all the houses are empty except like 2.
Probably.
And there's also the mayor and the innkeeper and nobody else.
That does make sense.
I don't know if that's explained or not. I think it's a pretty logical inference.
I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I remember is I walked down from the town and I accidentally came across a beggar. And I found this beggar. And the issue is that I found is because I didn't have the give interaction on, I had the attack interaction on, I killed this beggar by accident.
Wait, is attack also an interaction? Oh man.
Attack
That
is
makes
an
it even worse,
interaction,
not remembering.
yes. So
that's why they're trying to interact in combat, yeah.
So that means I selected the gold and then I just killed this beggar. So that means what essentially happened is I selected gold in my menu, held it in front of him, and then I hit him in the face with a mace. Like,
that's right, yeah, you have to... Oh, that was really obnoxious. It was like the same button to cycle through different inventory layers, wasn't it?
yeah,
Something weird like that. And it's horrible.
it's such
Yeah.
a nightmare.
I gave all my gold for the mayor on the first playthrough.
You did? Why?
It was accidental. I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, bless it.
It's like, here is this gold. Please help us, the king. And you're
He's just like, okay, here you go. Here you go.
Thank
Here
you
you
for the gold.
Here you go. It's like, good job. Now go off see the king.
Okay, if you don't want it, I won't give it back to you. Piss off.
Oh, also one time I got stuck behind like the counter of a shop, and I had to reload.
Yeah.
I think to be fair, there is actually like it's like a save state thing in the game. There's like it gives you a sort of code that you have to re-enter, and that
Do you want to explain how long the code is?
it's like 8 digits or something, isn't it? Lesser numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And also, if you accidentally click A instead of C... No, I think if you click A or B, it doesn't go back. It only goes back if you click C, and the code is designed to start at the beginning of the game if you just click load by accident. So I got to the castle, and when I gave up and just started to decide drowning my characters, is when I went onto load and went, oh no, I don't want to go this, B, and then it loaded back at the beginning of the game with nothing.
Yeah.
So I just went, nah, can't be asked.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they do have safety nets at least, because how brutal it is. They got the 3 life system from the three brothers.
But you say free life.
And the fairies.
Yeah, the amount of times they bring you back,
fairies.
you're just drown already.
I think it's based on your luck stat, but I had base luck the
is.
entire game, and it happened just repeatedly.
It is based on your luck stat.
Yeah.
The second brother is the luckiest of the 3.
Right.
And so he's got
I reckon I got
for
res
me,
by a fairy.
he resurrected, I think, about 27 times. So that just means that he drowned, got brought back to life, and put onto the land right next to where he drowned, and I would just walk back in and just drown again. So I can just imagine how annoyed this fairy is.
What are you doing here, man? You're not supposed to go in
I'm
there.
bringing you back to life. And I'm there just like, look, I wanted death. Leave me be. I mean, the only other thing I remember is that I found this island that just looked like the country of Brazil.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've just based on my notes. Apparently the map, the world map you could bring up, it just vanishes sometimes after you use it.
In your inventory?
Yeah. So I think it might be limited use, which is actually hilarious if that wasn't a bug. That is so obnoxious.
Why? Does that mean you need to go and buy new ones?
Also, it's apparently really zoomed in. I don't remember that, but apparently it's really zoomed in, so it's not actually that useful anyway.
I mean, considering how you were playing it, if that map's really zoomed in as well, you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Yeah.
Cool. So, story. What's
story?
Out of 5? What's the story?
2. It has a story.
Interesting.
So it's not a 1. It's better than Tetris, I guess.
That's fair. And just the overall design. How is the overall design? Because I think, as much as it is awful to play and really directionless, I do actually have to admit, I think a lot of it looks quite good, considering how old it is. Considering the limitations
colours,
of
I presume, are a limitation of the. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
The colours are kind of horrible. I think the wraiths looks quite good.
Yeah.
The skeletons. Nice. I think one of the big limitations is that it has 3 enemy types, just full stop. I think.
Oh yeah.
I went through quite a lot of the world. I only saw those 3 repeatedly, so that lets it down a bit. But I think there are different variations, like you had sword skeleton and bow skeletons, that sort of thing.
Probably.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Appearance. I mean, it's decent, I guess. Maybe a 3.
Right. Interesting.
It's not awful. It could be a lot worse.
So the overall verdict for the films today is 14 out of 15 and 1 out of 15. Obviously, that's my personal opinion. That may vary. And the game review that we have today is a 7 out of 15 total. So that is just about less than halfway.
Yeah, that's probably the 7.
And the link...
I was kind of enjoying it on the second playthrough. Or I'd been a bit more harsh.
That's not too bad then. The link between the 2 properties that it was supposed to be is, I think... Oh, yeah, go for it.
Well, I think then. Do you think they're both wasted potential?
Yeah, and Foley, what is your idea?
No, I think I agree with Sam. Yeah, I think that actually makes perfect sense.
I think you said that a lot earlier.
Possibly. However, I'd say you're probably right, but that's just because you're putting it nicely. The reason I have written down is I hate both of them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It's just I hate them both. I could not find a link in the in the 2-3 days beforehand between Legally Blonde and Faery Tale that I couldn't go, that seems a bit of a stretch or a bit arbitrary.
Yeah.
I mean, you just hate
because I couldn't even go, well, one of the characters is blonde, or one of the main characters blonde, because the first one isn't. The second one's blonde, the first one isn't, and you might not even see the second character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just way too good at loading the game up.
Pretty much.
From the previous state.
So I will now look up. What I also do is I have a review. This is based off of a terrible review I found for a film that Foley seemed to laugh. So the review that I found for Faery Tale Adventure is on a blog for the CRPG Addict. So don't say that I haven't shouted him out or her. Nice. I don't know. So the review just reads, and I'll only read the first paragraph as it's a blog, so there's multiple paragraphs. Right. But the review says, "Nope. Sorry, lads. I hate to disappoint you, but I've had it with this game. I gave it well over the 6-hour minimum, and I stand by my summary in the last posting. Huge, empty, and boring."
You know what? I played like 7 or so hours, I reckon.
Yep.
And I think the same thing.
Yeah, that sort of sums that one up. Yeah. And I did, however, find a review for Atomic Blonde, which is a semi-entertaining one, which... well, there were 2 that I thought would be entertaining to read out. One of them, however, is in a foreign language, and the only reason I thought it would be funny to read that out is because it would be me butchering a foreign language.
Okay, go for it.
It starts off with Imagine Achar Q Film Atomica, and I realise already that I'm giving up straight away. So let's move on to this one. This one's actually not a bad review. It's like looks like 3.5, and they're like popcorn film, 3 stars for that. But a strangely misplaced lesbian story arc that murders one of the few women in the film rather brutally. Not much to write home about outside of Theran's excitement brought to the role. I disagree with that. James McAvoy was far better, but that's irrelevant. And now I have a half-star review for Legally Blonde. And I just read this and I thought, what? Yeah. Like the review is as follows. And I'll get into the voice of the sort of person who I think would give this review. Right, lads, it's the epitome of a stupid blonde. That word is insufferable and dumb. I don't know if this was satire, but that would make it so much worse. And that's the review. Half a star. And reading the name, that is from Jeshel C, I can only assume that I have just read the review of a woman in the thing of a stupid man.
Way.
Well, lads.
Brush the hair out of the face.
I've got another review here. There is no name to this review. It just says it was a lickable movie. I don't know. What else to say? 2.9. The review only goes for half and full stars, so 2.9 is not really feasible on this thing. So, okay. Sure. That's fine. At least they tried. Yeah. At least they tried. Didn't do very well, but they tried still. So, that goes for what is essentially the first in what I hope to be an entertaining podcast. I'm hoping that you enjoyed listening to it.
We enjoyed making it.
I mean, you don't sound particularly infused by that.
No, I'm really infused.
Interesting.
Oh.
Well, I will give you both of your next thing's review after I've finished recording. And thanks for, I was going to say watching. You know, you're not watching a podcast, you listen to it.
You're watching with your ears.
So thank you for listening. And hopefully you didn't think it was too crap.
Yes, guys. Thanks for watching.
Say bye, guys.
Bye. Guys.
Fucking hell, this was stupid. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I totally didn't forget to record an outro while the podcast was actually happening, so I've come close to the mic to tell you. Thank you for listening. You can find Foley at his YouTube channel, Dopey Mr. Foley, and Sam at his house, Derby.